A few years ago, a good friend of mine started working as a software engineer, and he came back with crazy revelations. Paradise existed. Indeed, the promised land of high salaries and great benefits and ping-pong tables at the offices were all true, and they were all within our grasps. All we had to do was learn one thing. Just learn how to program. So I went in fully motivated. I got no plan, no structure, but I decided I would self-teach myself computer science until I hit the plateau. But what I didn't know back then is that I was actually just committing the 3 cardinal sins of self-taught programmers. So today I want to share with you guys how I have managed to overcome these 3 big sins of self-taught programmers by using Notion, and how this has allowed me to change my learning process from this to this. So without further ado, the first cardinal sin that I have committed was that I went in with no plan. When I first started, I was so eager to learn and I was so motivated that I didn't want to spend any single second on the boring planning stuff. But that ended up biting me in the rear real fast, because after 2 or 3 weeks, the honeymoon phase of learning ends. And that's where most self-taught programmers fail. So that is exactly when you need to have a plan to make sure you move forward. When your motivation drops, and then you have to start relying on your discipline. But without a plan, there's no discipline. So here's how you do it. So here's my template that I use for Notion. It's a template called Ultimate Task by Thomas Frank. He's a great productivity YouTuber, check him out. So what I do is I put in that project section down there, I put all of my courses I take and all of my projects, and I put them in there, and it's great for planning. It's great for planning and keeping track of your projects. So that was good. I had a plan, and I embarked on my newly enlightened journey. Now, nothing could stop me because I knew exactly the steps that I would have to take to get to the promised land. So I started moving forward, slowly, with no measurable timeline and no deadlines. So yeah, that is the second sin, going in with no schedule and nothing to keep you accountable. There's this concept called Parkinson's Law, which states that a task that you want to complete will take as long as you allow it to. So if you give yourself 1 entire month to learn a simple concept, well, you're going to end up using this entire month. But if instead you decide to use deadlines and you want to learn this simple concept in just 1 day, well then if your deadline is realistic, you're going to do it in 1 day instead of 1 month. And you'll end up learning much faster. And the real great thing about Notion is that you can change your views of your projects. So for instance, here's my MIT Intro to Algorithms class. And what I can do is I change my lectures view to a schedule view, and now when I do that, I see all of my lectures here on the right and their due dates, so it's wonderful for keeping yourself accountable. So now I had a plan to keep me on track, and I had a schedule to make sure I moved fast. Nothing could stop me anymore, right? Well, actually I still had to fix the third major sin of self-taught programmers, which is to be stretched too thin across multiple platforms. So what happens is, if you don't centralize all of your tutorials and your courses and your projects into a single place, well, what happens is you're exposing yourself to so many more distractions on each of these platforms, and your focus is spread all over the place. But luckily, if you use Notion, well, it kind of takes care of this problem by itself. And this system is so good that I use it for everything. In my projects here, you can see I have coding stuff, but also YouTube and personal projects. And here on the right, I have my personal to-do list for the day. So I just really make sure I put everything in there, my to-do list, my personal projects. I even put different stuff that are very useful in my day-to-day life, like here's my second brain that I call it. It's my to-do list for things that I really don't want to forget over the days. I also have a library for the books that I want to read and that I'm reading. Also, there's even a folder that I use for work. So once you get rid of those 3 cardinal sins by setting up a good workspace, that is when you get to unlock the fast lane to the promised land. For me, starting to use Notion meant I had a clear plan with the exact steps to follow to my dream job. So every action I took would get me closer to my goal. And I was on a fast-track schedule that ensured I was growing to my full potential. And finally, I was distraction-free, and I could just open my Notion page every day and just funnel all of my focus into this one space and make sure I use my time much more efficiently. And this system allowed me to learn so fast that just 3 months in, I felt like I was job ready, so I started applying. 1 month later, I was starting my first job as a software engineer. Now, I'm just your average guy. I'm no genius. I don't have a crazy high IQ. I'm just like you, so if I can do it, then so can you. Just don't give up, keep believing on yourself, keep working hard, and you'll realize that your goals are just within your reach. The high salaries, the great benefits, the ping pong tables. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to see more content like this, well, make sure you click like and subscribe, It helps me out and it helps you keep track with the stuff that I make. I've got much more stuff coming. I want to make tutorials and tips and tricks to help you take the path that I took as a self-taught programmer and to make sure that you can fulfill your dreams as fast and easily as I did. So subscribe if you don't want to miss any of it. Otherwise, thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.